Hey guys, welcome back to Enlightened Turtle. It's your host Kev here. So we've got a couple more maps to look at today. We're going to be taking a look at the area on the west of the Hellas Sea and Hellespont, which we looked at on the last video. We're going to be looking at the Troad, East Anglia, and the potential location for the Trojan conflict. Now, this is again Imans Wilkens' book and Imans Wilkens' research. So I'm not saying it's gospel. You're allowed to take this information, interpret it however you will. And what we're going to do is I'm going to put the maps on the screen because there is keys accompanying the maps. I'll read from the key. The maps are all numbered, so it's just a case of following the numbers around the map and attaching the associated information in the key. So this is the first of two maps we're going to be taking a look at, and as you can see, you've got East Anglia, you've got Trojan or Trinobantium, which is London, in the centre to the south with a shaded circle. Then we have a shaded area, like band, coming around the city of Troy, which is the Ida Hills, as we've discussed in previous videos. We've also got the Gog Magog, the Gog Magog Hills and this kind of stuff. Where you can see an empty area as well. It says present coastline to the north of the Achaean camp. That present coastline is, as I say, we've got reclaimed land. So this area, which is designated as the Wash, which we'll see more in the next map, is the area to which the Argives or the Achaeans sailed into and allegedly encamped on the edge of this Wash area. However, if you look where it says present coastline, if you were to draw a line west inland, this is the region to which Mount Ida is situated, as we discussed in previous videos. So you had Ida Hills and Mount Ida. However, enough of that. That was a long introduction. Like I say, we're going to go straight into this now. We're going to be looking at the key to map 1. Well, technically it's map 2 of the book, but this is map 1 for this video. Excuse me. Rivers in the Troad. So number 1, we have the Rhesus or the Rhe. We have number 2, we have the Heptapterus or Highs and Ivel. Number 3, we have Caressus or Cardyke, and it's got river with an exclamation mark in brackets. 4A, Rhodius, which is Roding. 4B, Kenneth. 5, Granicus or Granta. 6, Iesbus or Issy. 6B being Lark. 7, the Scamander or Cam. 8, Simois or Great Ouse, apologies. 9, Santiois, which is Little Ouse. 10, Caister, which is Ya. 11, Axius, which is Exi. And 12, Themis, which is the Thames. Apology, I should have said there, that was the first word is the Greek name, and as we know from the Iliad, and the second words were the modern day names of the rivers. So like we have touched on this in previous, I think it was the Troy 1 video. There is etymological rendering that has to take place with most words. To be fair, we've seen changes in language and multiple conquests of the British Isles, with new influxes and new language, new pronunciations and all this kind of stuff. So there has been slight variations, but it is interesting to note that some of the words have remained almost true. Like number 11 there, we have the Axius, which as modern day render as Exi. Now I do believe that that river in the Middle Kingdom around say the 10th to 14th centuries. I'm pretty sure that that river was called Axi, so it went from Axios to Axi to Exi. So you can, if you take your time, you can actually follow the renderings. These gave a pretty simple breakdown here, but that's the rivers of the Troad, at least in East Anglia. So we're going to go on to the hills. So number 13 on the map is Gargarus, a peak of the Arder Woods. Height of the Ditton Wood in Krishnall. 14 is the Killicone on Simowis, which the Simowis is, if you go back to the rivers, is number 8 and is the Great Ouse. So 14, as you can see, is situated just east of number 8. So, sorry, I'll say that again. Callicone on the Simowis, hill near Colne on the Great Ouse. Number 15, Samothrace, Sandringham, hills near east of King's Lynn, ancient Lyranos, which is Lyre, as in Lyr, equals Poseidon. So that's 15. Where's that? Sorry. 15 is to the north, which is on the east side of the Wash. So he equates that to Poseidon, which is interesting considering this land is reclaimed from the sea, almost like an act of Poseidon, you know. So we keep going. Other names. So we're going to move around the rest of the map here, I'm surmising. So 16 is Samos, region east of the Wash, which is that area of water as we've just been discussing. Imbros, region west of the Wash, as far north as the Humber River. 18, Scuros, or Sheerness. 19, Thrace, which is Lincolnshire. 20, Lyrenesos, which is King's Lynn. 21, Pedassos, site on the Little Ouse. 22, Asian Meadow is the Broads. 23, Thebes in Troad is Theberton, which that's a pretty close rendering, isn't it? Theberton. 24, Lecton, which is Lexton, the famous Lexton Mound, as discussed by Wilson and Blacker, as containing bulls, reclining bulls, rams, spherical objects, a number of things that are associated in the Asia Minor with the Assyrian culture, which is interesting that it's over on this side of Britain at this moment in time in the Bronze Age, not over in Wales, which people would say is the Cymry part of this same culture of an earlier Assyrian migration. But I'll leave that there, but I will just say it kind of indicates that the trade centre was here, not anywhere else, but I'll leave that there for now. So you have 25, the Bow, meander in the Thames. Not too sure. Meander in the Thames. 26, Crecy, region of the Cray River, Crayford and Grays. 27, Scylla is a region of Chilham. And 28, Tenedos, Isles of Thanet. So, like I say, I don't want to get too hung up on. I could go through and start picking bits out, but that's not for today's video. Like I say, that's the map in key from map 1. Now we're going to take a look at map 2, which should be on your screen. So this map is the walls of the city of Troy are shown at the approximate height of 50 meters in this key. Excuse me. So as you can see on the bottom west side of the map, bottom left, we have the city of Troy, and you can see the rivers squiggling the way through the map, but as you can see the straight lines, things like the Devil's Dyke and, Mariana's Barrow or Mutterlow Hill, the Fleam Dyke even, these are war dykes directed towards the Wash area, and if you follow that up you can see the Achaean camp on the edge of the Wash, which is again now reclaimed land. So without further ado, I'm going to go straight into this one. This map's a little bit more complicated than the last map, and the explanations are a bit more broad, but not much. So we'll go through. This continues. Archaeological finds. The numbers 1 to 18 are described in this chapter. Right, so we'd have to move forward, and there's a lot to discuss with the archaeological stuff. I can't wait to do that video, to be honest. So, other features. Number 19, Copperley Hill, hill fort with a tumulus. 20, Wandleberry Ring, a hill fort, the former Pergamus. 21, approximate site of the Skian Gates. And in that Troy 1 video we did discuss the gates. 22, the hillock between Troy and the cold springs of Springfield, Mistleton Hill. So that's another thing that's mentioned in the Iliad, the number of springs around Troy, which you just do not find at Hisarlik. 23a, the cold springs, near Cherry Hinton, with the war ditches and the limestone quarry. 23b, the former hot springs of 9 wells, still lukewarm in the mid-19th century. 24, the Cherry Hinton and Coldham Brooks. 25, Fen Ditton or High Ditch. 26, the spot near the confluence of the Scamander and the Simios, where Hera stays her horses. 27, the Barrow of Ilus at Barway. 28, the ford in the river Exanthios, Scamander and Cam. Slashes between Exanthios, Scamander and Cam. Wooden trackway found, which is interesting. 29, the burial mound of Achilles and Patroclus at Freckham. So if these burial mounds are documented, then it's somewhere I'd like to go and see and catalogue for myself. And I was due to go round about now, but there was a change in plans and unfortunately I was unable to make it there. But it is on my list to go and check out this area. The Barrow of Marina, which is number 30. 31, the Marshland. As I say, these are all reference points of the Iliad that we're discussing here. 32, Calicolne or Beauty Hill on Colne, C-O-L-N-E. Apologies, my nose is blocked up. Burnt Fen, which is BF. So we're going into the numbers now, the letters now. So BF, if you can see it before me, you win. And here we go, the Achaean. It's right next to the Wash in the north of the map. So we got BF, which is Burnt Fen, which if you actually go and take a look at, I did mention this in a previous video also, there is exactly around 3100 years ago areas littered around this area where places have been found to have destruction by fire. One of them is a famous fen, wooden, it's got like a wooden palisade and constructions on there with big thick posts in the mud that were all burnt, along with some kind of farm agricultural area that was all destroyed and burnt around the same time that the Trojan War is said to have taken place. So MF is Mere Fen. I'm interested by that word Mere because, like Martin Mere, not too far from where I live, it seems to be associated with secluded areas with a little bit of water. I'm not stating that as fact, that's just something that I'm gonna have to look into. BH, Butchers Hill. SF, Sedge Fens. That's 1, 2 and 3. We've got KP, the last leg of Priam's journey to Achilles, accompanied by a safe conductor. So where's that KP? So yeah, KP is to the to the left of the Achaean camp, and you can see this is the last leg, because as mentioned, as you can see, that area from Troy to the Wash, that's quite a good few miles. That I couldn't say specifically, I don't have a map open right now, but it's going to be at least 50 miles, at least 40 miles, 30 miles. You know, this is a significant walk. Now it is mentioned that it took Priam several days to journey to Achilles to retrieve the body of Hector, where people are probably familiar with the Trojan movie, where, you know, Achilles kills Hector in the morning and then Priam arrives at the Achaean camp at night and all this kind of stuff. Well, actually, Priam spent a little bit of time there with Achilles. It took him time to get there, and there's a lot more to that story. There's obviously varying accounts, as we've discussed as well in previous videos, from Dares of Phrygius and Dicates Cretinus to supplement the Homeric poems, and they all have different accounts. But what doesn't change is the fact that apparently it took him a while to get there, several days, retrieve the body and then came back, hence why they had an extended period of lamentation when it came to burying Hector. Achilles honoured the rights between the two peoples, and the war stopped for a period. So we have the letter C, canalization of the camp in the 19th century. G, gates in the wall, each guarded by 100 warriors. There were 7 gates in all, 5 of which gave access to the main battlefield. Priam passed through one of the gates, situated west of the river Scamander, which is just there, the Simios. Hector attacks 5 gates of the Achaean camp with 5 companies, starting off from the region of Ilys's barrow. Once inside the camp, he rushes the ship of the Telamonian Ajax, which was beached at the far eastern end of the camp. Achilles being at the opposite western end, although Hector being the commander must have entered the camp through a central gate. He indeed soon finds himself battling near Ajax's ship on the far eastern end of the beach. As the map clearly shows, Hector does not succeed in setting fire to Ajax's ship, but he burns the ship of Protesilaus, which is breached next to it. Patroclus hems the Trojans in between the ships, the river and the high wall. Achilles' counterattack splits the Trojan forces in 2, driving one part citywards across the plain and the other part into the river. According to translations, the battle surged back and forth over the plain between the Simios and the Scamander. But according to the Scholia, which is the A Scholia from the Vinicius A manuscript, which is the oldest iteration of the Homeric poems of the 2nd century BC, the original line read, "The battle surged back and forth over the plain between the Scamander and the bay," which turns out to be the right version. So allegedly, according to Iman, the oldest version of the Homeric poem is actually the most correct, which probably I'd like to see the originals and the oldest manuscripts of most things, but fortunately I can't speak all the languages and don't have access to them. So let's just paint the picture of what he just said there. So You've got the camp, and we're looking for the letter H. So we've got the letter H here. As you can see, all these G's are the gates along the Achaean camp. So you've got numbers of gates into the Achaean camp, and it says that Hector attacks 5 gates of the Achaean camp with 5 companies. I'm guessing he manages to get through some of these gates, and as he says there in that older rendition, they get trapped between the ships and the plain, or the river and the plain, some forced into the river and some forced back. Because as you can see right next to the Achaean front line, if you will, where all the gates are, it's actually situated on a river which offers natural defence. Obviously you defend yourself on one side of the river, and you've got a natural protection and a natural defence against any opposing forces. Letter P. Patroclus hems the Trojans between the ships, the river and the high wall. Apologies, I just read that. A. Achilles counterattack splits the Trojan forces. So that concludes the key, but there's a little added note at the bottom here. We've got not yet identified with certainty are the shared burial mounds of Patroclus and Achilles. A likely site is the great barrow of Isleham plantation near Freckham, for reasons set out in this chapter. The barrow of Hector, situated outside the walls of Troy. According to Dicetes' diary of the Trojan War, Hector was cremated and buried near the burial mound of his ancestor king Ilos, which was a barway, as we have seen. So map 3, key 27. So number 27. It's right there, Ilis's barrow, right in the middle, in between the two camps. The tomb of Aeetes, an unknown Trojan situated on a hillock which served as a Trojan observation post near the coast. So he leaves his notes here, and I forgot to take a photograph of the notes for the last book, and there's quite a lot to read here. These are the sources of which Iman has obviously drawn upon as well. Like here, number 40, Dicetes Cretinus, Ephemeris Belli Trione, or the Diary of the Trojan War. So these are just, oh yeah, here's one. 42, Euripides, Helen, 108. Euripides is a chronicler, a historical chronicler, and his book was Helen. This is page 108. There can be no doubt that Troy in England was meant as in the same tragedy Euripides, like Aeschylus before him mentioned, white melting snow watering the land of Egypt, the Bronze Age, name of a region of Normandy, as well as we'll explain in chapter 5, Hassarloch inhabited in his time. Euripides, Achaeans are so-called Greeks in translation. So there you go, like that was a little forerunner of what we still got yet to come in terms of Egypt. Now there's another book, just bear with me just one moment. It's here somewhere. There it is. I don't know if anybody else does this, but does anybody else use toilet paper as bookmarks? Because you find out you quickly run out of bookmarks. So this book is from Lawrence Waddell regarding, I'm going to close this book now because I think we're finished reading from there. This is a fascinating book. Now, I have literally only briefly scanned through it, But if you look at some of the stuff like this, I might take a photograph and put it on the screen. In fact, I probably won't. I don't want to go too much into this, but this gives many descriptions on Egypt from Lawrence Waddell's point of view. Now, Lawrence Waddell and Imans Wilkens are coming at this from totally different spectrums. Lawrence Waddell believes that the Trojan connection comes from the east and travelled west, where Imans Wilkens believes that the Celtic region is where the Trojan War took place. You know, the Celtic region. You know, you've got Britain, Gaul, Normandy, Brittany, France, Spain, all this western, northwestern Celtic region. He believes that's the origins of the Trojan conflict, and as such, all the connections to Trojan nobility, royalty, mythology, and all this kind of stuff. As you heard there, Achilles actually has the same kin as the Trojans, and their connection to Ilios, who apparently founded Ilium or Troy. So it does make sense for it to be a small epicenter that maybe as time went by and the story was retold and recounted, it expanded and became bigger and bigger and bigger. However, I'm getting off on segues there, but like I say, this book from Waddell, he has a number of things that a number of dots he can connect between cultures, yet he sees it from a different perspective. So it's a case of me going through this book really at some point, spending a good couple of hours, a few days, really, read really slow, and trying to extrapolate out of there what I can and attach it to an overall thesis of this migration from left to right, right to left, however you want to look at it. But yes, sorry to drag the end of the video on there and bore the life out of you guys. Say sniffles, been still a little bit under the weather the past few days, so I've just done readings rather than go into some heavy stuff. And yeah, I'm going to leave that one there. So like I say, thanks for stopping by guys, hope you're catching the next video. Any thoughts, ideas, likes, shares, all that good stuff, put it in the bottom, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.